to me, that's such a cool, like it's ingrained in the culture of the city and this province of like, by operating and being here, you are contributing to the growth of this province.
Welcome to another episode of Sell Me This Podcast. This week, I am excited to have Philippe Burns, the host of Tech Thursday, where we dive into a conversation around building community, the event scene in Calgary, and the collaboration between large enterprise and the startup scene here right in our backyard. Hopefully you enjoy. So welcome to another episode of Sell Me This Podcast. Today, I am super excited to have with me today Philippe. Philippe, I feel like you need no introduction, but I'm gonna. I know it's a big go right off the start here, but I'm going to let you do it anyways. So.
Wow. Sell me this Philip.
Sell me this Philip. We're actually renaming the show. We wanted to bring you on to tell you that in person.
Yeah, that'd be great. Sell me this. Yeah. No, Keith, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome to be here. And a beautiful podcast room. This is incredible.
And you matched the stockings behind you. So it might give the time of year away, but I'm glad you wore the red sweater and we're good to go here.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, we know each other through, I run an event series called Tech Thursday. And so we host events a little bit across the prairies, also now into Ottawa. So Winnipeg, Calgary, and Edmonton, and Ottawa, obviously. And yeah, typically they're public panels. And we like to cover areas that we think are super interesting in the tech space, either like people building really cool things or topics that we think, people will get value from. So things like, go-to-market strategies, or if you're a developer, some nerdy stuff too. So
yeah. So I feel like that, it's been really interesting to watch the Tech Thursday series. Like I feel like they've grown and grown. Like it's really interesting to see you expand to different cities and geographies. How did you even get started in that? Because I feel like, and we've put on a few events. Yeah. It is a lot of work to put on the one event per quarter that we put on. You do it every week.
Yeah. Exactly. So you know what is actually interesting? We started it through my role at Neo Financial. Yeah. So I was at Neo, fairly early days, let's say. I was like employee 50. And after about working there for about like a year, we raised our Series C. We had about 300 employees, but we wanted to scale to about 800. So I stood up a team called the talent marketing team, all focused on like our employer brand, getting more people to want to work for us. And so events became a really big part of our strategy. Like we wanted to get in front of people that we would eventually hire. And so we actually took Neo's logo off of it. We called it Tech Thursday, and we ran it in the cities that we had offices. So in Winnipeg and Calgary. And every week on a different topic. And the topics were kind of around like, okay, this week we have like a priority to hire like anti-money laundering people. Let's see if we can
crazy. So then you'd bring together all the...
Exactly. So, okay, we'll bring together this panel for AML and see if anyone in the crowd comes and we're able to like meet them and maybe like entice them to come in for an interview. And so that's like the OG origin story. And we didn't add our logo back on until we got sponsors. Our first sponsor was Skip the Dishes. And then we kept adding more and more sponsors. And then 2024, it had been like two and a bit years that we had been running them. We had successfully scaled our team. We had about 800 people. And then we were prepping for our Series D, so we weren't really hiring anymore. And I kind of did the numbers, and we were revenue positive if I took my salary out of the equation. And so I was like, this could maybe be its own company. So I went to the founders and with a proposal to spin out the company, and they were keen. So it's been about a year and a half that I've been off running it full time.
That's amazing. And so what's that transition like? Like I feel like it was kind of your baby from the get-go.
Right.
Has it felt different kind of becoming its own entity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like people are often like, oh, it must be so fun to be your own boss. Yeah. And I think when you're your own boss, you realize like just how good of a boss capitalism is. It's just like, I just, capitalism is my boss and like rent is still due. Yeah. I still have to eat. And so, it's been pretty fun to like, just like learn how to hustle on my own and define my own schedule. But it hasn't been too different. And I think I'm incredibly lucky to have like started a company that I've been running for 2 years. And to kind of know what's required of me. And and know it intimately well. So there's not a huge learning curve. I just had to kind of learn some of the other stuff that goes behind it too.
Well, in a really crude way, it's almost like you had an incubator for it. Like you kind of incubated it within Neo.
Yeah.
And then when you could stand on your own 2 feet, it's like, okay, you're, out of the nest.
Exactly. Yeah. Go off on your own. And I think the founders of Neo are like super keen on like seeing more things happen in the ecosystem. And I think they weren't ready to like kill Tech Thursday. And so we're really keen to like say like, okay, you've built this pretty cool thing. Go off and do it. And see, they also wanted it to have its own legs as well. So.
And so is there still a tie in terms of the recruitment side, or are you still supplying some of the people and the connection back to the Skip and the Neo, which I know are kind of in similar families, we'll call it.
Yeah, in similar families. The tie to the recruitment angle, definitely. Like I think our focus for our panels is we still want people who are, senior members of the tech ecosystem to find value in our events. So if that's like, if we're doing something that's marketing focused or again, developer focused or whatever it might be, we want people who have titles like director or VP of marketing to come to our events and learn something and be able to apply it. And then it really depends on sponsors. And so when we spun out, interestingly, we made the like conscious decision to spin out as a for-profit company. And I think that maybe surprises a few folks because oftentimes I think people look at companies like ours or organizations like ours, and they're often nonprofits, right? They're often funded by the government, which is not a problem. I think it has its role. But I think at a certain point, they stop losing traction with larger scale tech companies who have set requirements from community events or activations like the ones that we do. So when we spun out as a for-profit company. And I think what that's done is it's required us to ensure that we meet the needs of our sponsors as much as we can. And so we still do have sponsors who come to us saying, we're trying to hire like a program manager. Can you put together an event that's going to bring those folks out? And we'll do our best to make sure that's true.
Well, and I love what you said at the very beginning, and to kind of paraphrase you, capitalism is a great boss.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that the idea of having to worry about the economics, having to worry about the sponsors, I think keeps you on your toes a little bit.
Totally.
And it doesn't become safe.
Yeah.
And so I love exactly what you're saying, which you kind of have to continually push the envelope. How do you evolve? How do you keep current? How do you keep providing more and more value over time, and not just in this short time burst at the front end?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think if we had the opportunity to sit on our sit back and say like, cool. Well, we know we have funding coming in December. We're chilling. Well, then you wouldn't innovate. And I think at least what I saw at Neo is like, if we can't pay the bills, I probably should back up and go somewhere else, right? Like I should go, get a job somewhere else and not run Tech Thursday. But so long as we keep the market keeps proving that we add value by sponsors coming back to us and saying, hey, can you keep running these events for us? We're getting the ROI. You are showing the value that you're creating. Keep going. Then we should be allowed to keep doing what we're doing, right?
I agree 100%. And I think that there's so much competition for events. Like it's a weird system right now in Calgary where I think you could probably go to 5 different events a day or an evening and still have 5 more to go to.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's still this incredible craving of community that a lot of people are still asking for. And I'm you probably have an interesting lens into it. But I think that there's a lot of events, but there isn't necessarily a lot of high quality events still.
Right.
And maybe I'm setting up a landmine, and I'm not trying to do that either. I don't want to skewer anyone, but
no, let's do it. Can I swear on this podcast?
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me shit on all the other podcast organizers or all the other event organizers. No, that's. I think there is a lot of quality content. I really like. I think Intergen does a really great job, and there's a few. I think Graham Edge with his Energy Disruptors is an incredible conference. And I think there is there's quality content. But I think maybe some of it is missing. I think to us when we do weekly events, that recurring aspect is a big part of what we do. And I think you mentioned community. Yeah, I do think people really care about the community and care about meeting people week over week and building those relationships over time. Otherwise, like, you know, you can kind of lose those connections that you made, right? So, I think that is probably a big part of it. But definitely ensuring the quality of our content is super important as well. Otherwise, kind of the same thing, right? Otherwise, you know, we'll be forced to kind of innovate because people aren't coming out anymore, right?
Yeah. And so has Tech Thursday then moved past like just your Thursday events? And is it kind of turning into an ecosystem then? Or kind of like what is the influence, we'll call it, of Tech Thursday look like today?
Yeah, what's kind of next for us? Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is next for us, so we expanded to Edmonton and Ottawa last year. That's been great. On the event side, we've shifted our model. So we still host weekly events, but now we're doing more like private dinners as well. So we'll do dinners for founders, or we'll do some poker nights, or we just like launched a hackathon. So trying to like do some more like engaging events, not always like the panel style. And those have been a lot of fun. And then I think to me, the flywheel that we're looking to explore is we have the Thursday events at the top, but are there opportunity to cross-sell our in-person audience to a digital platform as well? So if that's like turning our events into video content, or if it is, you know, standing up maybe podcasts or not just necessarily our podcast, but helping other creators get access to our in-person audience and create a bit of a larger like online communities is something that we're hopeful to do. And then I think once you create that sort of platform, there's then opportunities, if you have distribution, to help other companies start companies as well, or other founders start companies. So what is maybe very nascent and probably not ready to talk about, but is this like labs concept of things that we're playing around with, of can we get some founders in and help them grow, and then get them exposure and also get them distribution and help their companies start off. So those are some of the things that we're trying to play around with. And I think each one of those aspects feeds into the next aspect.
Yeah, you can definitely see how it comes together as an ecosystem, that each part kind of feeds one part. And I'm a big fan of the Jim Collins flywheel, and I'm a little bit of a nerd for some of the good great books.
Okay, yeah.
But I think that concept of the flywheel, is that something that you're using actively in your business today?
That's like the only way I think about our strategy is through the flywheel. I'm like anti-goals. I don't know if you want to talk about this.
We can talk about anything. So I want to talk about anti-goals.
Okay, yeah. I'm anti-goals. I actually think goals are stupid. And I think that a lot of people disagree with me. And I think people are like, how are you an entrepreneur? I think goals are stupid. Like, that's wild. But I think in my life personally, I think I've always thought, well, why would I make a goal? Like, I have no idea where I'm going to be in my life. That goal might be super hard for me in a year. Like in a year's time, or it might be super easy. And so why would I like pigeonhole myself, give myself like the dopamine hit of like, oh, I accomplished this goal in February. Now I got nothing to do for the rest of the year. And so I've always tried to make decisions based on like value-based decisions, like curiosity, authenticity, empathy, and hoping that if you think those values are like compasses, and each decision, those compasses are like largely pointing north, it will get me to like what kind of impact I want to have at the end of my life. And so when I was starting Tech Thursday, I was like about to write goals, like 2025 goals. This is where we want to be at the end of the year. And I stopped myself of like, why would I do this? Like
this is ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. Like, this is not how I live my life. Why would I run my company this way? And so, I think probably the values of Tech Thursday are closely, oriented to my personal values of like authenticity, empathy, and curiosity. But also I just think about it in the flywheel of like each one of these I want to strengthen as much as they can be. And then ideally each one of them is going to like support each other. And that's kind of the only thing I think about. Yeah.
And it becomes clear in kind of how everything feeds into one another.
Yeah.
And then it becomes really clear, or if you're getting hung up in a certain spot, it just stops.
Yeah, totally. And I think each one has to be like commercially viable in itself as well. And I think that's important too, right? Like you can stand one up and it can fund the other ones, but at a certain point, the other ones also have to be commercially viable and stand on their own 2 feet, and then they'll really start to work together really well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to dive more into this goals conversation because I find it fascinating because I'm one of the people where I have a really hard time with setting goals because, to your point, I think that they're somewhat subjective, and so many people will set a series of goals.
Yep.
And then they'll run around telling everyone those goals, and they get that, like high-fiving, oh, what amazing goals, Philip. Like, I can't, like, and you kind of get pre-rewarded without having to do anything.
Totally.
And I think they're kind of made up and BS-y.
Yeah. All right, now I can talk some shit.
Yeah,
I feel like,
let's talk shit. This is...
I feel like one thing I really don't like, I spend too much time on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But first of all, to your point, I think there's actually science with goals that if you set a goal and then you tell someone that goal, that it's even your goal, your brain gets like 80%.
Yeah.
And this might, fact check me before quoting it. But
no,
like,
I'm 100% science right here.
Yeah, 100% science. Gets at least like enough dopamine for your brain to be like, oh, well, why would I accomplish that? I got everything I needed from, that goal, right? Like in my brain, I've already sort of gotten the dopamine of having done it.
Yeah.
Like if I had the goal of publishing a book, like I really want to publish a book. And I told you, hey, Keith, I really want to publish a book. You're like, dude, that's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. My brain is going,
I would read your book,
Exactly. Reward thing. Yeah. Like, okay, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And so, but then maybe to talk some shit, it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, just post their goals on LinkedIn and they're like, oh, great, 100 likes. Like either I don't have to do it or, they take that enough as like, oh, they're doing it.
Yeah. Well,
I would love to see more people do stuff and post about that they did stuff,
Well, and I feel like, and this might be controversial, but I feel like we're diving into this water anyways.
Let's go.
I feel like LinkedIn sometimes is just a bunch of people like high-fiving each other for like generic, vague content, and LinkedIn is a huge part of our strategy. Like we through like our company and through our consultants, like we're very we've invested heavily in helping them tell their stories through LinkedIn. Yeah, but there's so much just like fluff. Yeah, and like I said, just everyone high-fiving, and it's not real.
Yeah, it's not real. People often I think, I do a pretty good job of posting on LinkedIn. Yeah. So I don't want to talk too much shit.
No, but we're like in like probably the top like 1% of like LinkedIn users for like how often we post. Like we're similar. You do a great job on LinkedIn as well. Like
but I do think you're right that like I also think that people often think I'm busier than I am. They're like, you must be crushing it. All your updates on LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn does a great job. I think of making it seem like you're busier than you are. But yeah, I don't know. LinkedIn is very interesting. I've been trying to pull back on social media recently. Like I have logged out of my Instagram and like trying to only check it once a day. And I was doing something similar with LinkedIn too. And it's like really interesting now when I log in, I realize like how posts will affect me. Like I feel it like I'll get like my cortisol will spike. I'll feel like, and I'll be like, what am I doing on these apps? I feel like when you're sort of in the rush and you check it all the time, you don't realize that you're like getting spiked in cortisol and these posts are stressing you out. But I'm trying to do a better job of like staying off these platforms.
It's all those. So even email, I found email is something like that I believe that genuinely I was addicted to. And so
really,
it's so easy if you think about it. You check your email, it's like, okay, I got 3. Okay, I quickly crush these off, and like some of them are so unnecessary, but you kind of look forward to and you kind of pride yourself on always checking your email on every kind of free moments. And eventually, it's the same as you. I just said, okay, well, I'm just going to batch it. I'll do it twice a day. Yep. And occasionally, if I'm waiting for something, I'll come check my email. But it's crazy how more efficient you can be with stuff like that when you start to batch it versus trying to sneak it into every waking moment of the day.
Yeah. That's actually smart. I should do that with email. I feel like if I don't do that with email, sometimes I'll just be like doing email for the whole day. I'll just like slowly be answering them.
Well, and so like there's a friend that I have out of Vancouver Island, and he has this kind of like ban busy campaign. And so email is, I think, one of the biggest culprits where it can feel like you have been slaving away all day. Yeah. And you've done 12 minutes of work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so he everyone's like, oh, you're doing? I was just so busy today. I was with emails, blah blah blah. And he has on the big. I can't even talk today. He's on this big campaign of ban busy,
Okay.
Which is busy is a terrible descriptor of anything because it doesn't actually describe what you're busy with.
Right.
And so email is the big culprit, but he's actually on this Ben Busy campaign right now.
Yeah. Interesting. That's awesome. I love that. Because I also think there's I think that sometimes it frustrates me when I ask how people are doing and they're like, oh, I'm busy. I'm busy. Well, that's not a good thing.
It's not.
It's a horrible thing to just be like plainly busy and not happy about it, right?
Yeah. Well, even I think that there was some interesting reading that I did around just even the question like, how are you doing? It's just such an autopilot response for people now.
Yeah. I hate
where
the cop out.
It's like, hey, how are you doing? Good. How are you doing? Good. Awesome. Nice to see you.
Right.
Move on.
Yeah.
And
or it's like, how are you doing? Oh, busy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, that's so boring.
And they're just like, it's like the ER, like the air is out of the room. It's like, okay, well, and so like the suggestion is asking questions like, what exciting things are you working on right now?
Yeah. I love that stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so just kind of breaking that like circuit where we're kind of on autopilot for saying hello to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah. What are you excited about? What's your deepest insecurity?
Yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, you got to be in the right. Imagine just meeting someone. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Keith. What's your deepest insecurity, by the way?
That's right. It breaks the ice.
Yeah,
it brings people together.
I think so. I'll let you take your sip of water before I ask my next question here. I'll just put. So I do want to talk a little bit about because you're also part of a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so why don't you tell me about the nonprofit? It sounds like you're doing some incredible things there.
Yes. So it's called the Patrol Foundation, and it's me and 8 of my friends, or 7 of my friends, 8 including me, and we started it because actually 2023, there was like a grant from the city of Calgary that me and one of my friends applied for, and we got it. It was like $4,000 that was like deposited into my bank account, and it was in order for us to host like a party downtown, with music. And we didn't know what to do. Same day we got the money, 7 guys posted that they were running a Movember campaign. It was actually called the Prostate Patrol. But they were getting a lot of traction, raising a lot of money. And so I reached out. I was like, hey guys, I got this money. I don't really want to be a promoter. Can I host a party for you guys at the end of the month? And like the original mustache or Movember was these like Australian guys who wanted to throw a themed party. And so they threw a mustache party at the end of the month, which is like the origins of Movember. And so I was like, can we throw like a mustache party? And it became the Mustache Bash, which was like this formal gala. And we ended up selling out in our first year. And so then going into last year, 2024, we decided, hey, this is pretty fun. One of the guys is a lawyer, and his firm was like, pro bono, you guys can set this up as a nonprofit. So we spun up a nonprofit, matured the name a bit, called it the Patrol Foundation. And so now we run 3 events throughout the year. We run our first rodeo, and then our second rodeo, and next year will be our 3rd rodeo. And that's around raising money for local kids sports around Stampede. And then we run in November 2 events. We added a charity 10K. So it's called the Cold Patrol 10K on November 8th. And so one of these years we're going to get snowed on. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be super cold. But so far it's been like incredible weather. And so we had that a month ago, and we raised 100K. We actually were in the middle of speeches and we crossed the 100K threshold, which was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we had 600 runners. And then again, the Mustache Bash. So those 2 together, I think now we've raised 127K for Alberta Cancer Foundation. And to be honest, it's just been a really fun excuse to get drunk with my friends and have like a really productive hobby. Because I know you love golfing. I can't stand golfing. So this is my version of golfing.
And so I feel like your version of golf and my version of golf probably very different things. And I'm the least I like to spend 4 hours hanging out with friends on the golf course.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm a good enough golfer to kind of stay out of trouble, but I am definitely a very recreational golfer that enjoys the camaraderie and the activity a lot more than the act of actually golfing.
Yeah, if it's best ball and there's drinks, then I'll play a golf.
Okay, yeah. So we would enjoy golfing together.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. Okay, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, we like a lot of times. Like I just got back actually last night from Mexico, and we were golfing. And one of the days we actually did a best ball tournament. One of the guys got like actual shirts made up. Like there was,
No way.
it was 4 neighbors that had essentially started this, where we won a Mexico trip in a silent auction, and kind of gone back a couple times since.
That's awesome.
And so bays versus narrows is like just like the area of the street that you're on.
Okay.
And we'll go golfing, but like this year we had shirts made up and everything. But you do a best ball; it's an excuse to hang out with your friends. And,
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's acceptable golfing. I like that.
yeah, a couple shenanigans here and there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but none of us are trying out for the PGA Tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're not tracking our handicaps and all that kind of stuff. And when's the Mustache Patrol one, or
The Mustache Bash.
the Mustache Bash? Yes.
So this year that was on November 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for that one again, sold out 3 years in a row. And this year maybe what was unique is we used to have this creative director at Neo Financial.
Yeah.
He had like taken portraits of like David Hasselhoff and stuff. And I like didn't want a traditional photo booth. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, can you come and set up these like dramatic portraits of everyone? And so he did, and he crushed it. And so we have all these like incredibly cool photos of all of our attendees like posing in these like dramatic portraits that are just like hilarious, to be honest. But
Amazing. Well, sign me up for both of those things next year.
okay, yeah, you're in.
Yeah, I will. It'll be the year that it just snows horribly.
yeah, that's right. And it'll be like, yeah, all of us will have to run with shovels and stuff.
Yeah. I'm a 100% a fair weather runner. There's the people that are like rain or shine or minus 30. They'll be out there, and it's like I run outside in the summer, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's when everyone prefers to run, right? Like so nice. I was out there yesterday actually going for a run, and I'm kind of like in my mind going, I can't wait for it to be sunny.
Yeah, you're like, this is
yeah.
And then like Thursday, I think it's going to minus 20, so you got some.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, by the way.
No, you're not. So we found your limit.
Yeah, my limit is like -5.
Okay.
Not out there.
I think it would hurt the lungs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it once. Last year I did it once, just because when you don't work out for like a week and you just feel bad for yourself.
I know exactly what that feeling feels like coming back from Mexico yesterday.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, tonight you're probably gonna have like some big workout. Yeah. And so I tried to go out. It was -20, but I just like couldn't look at myself in the mirror unless I went out for a run. And so I did, and it was the worst. It was the worst, and I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah,
it hurt the lungs. It hurt everything. I was like afraid I was gonna like freeze to death. Yeah,
that's not ideal at all.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into the Calgary ecosystem a little bit. So you are. You have your not-for-profit. You have Tech Thursdays.
Yes.
I feel like you're building 2 really interesting communities. I know that you're a big advocate for Calgary in itself.
Right.
And I know that you're diving into some other cities as well. But what's so special that you found about Calgary that seems to kind of keep drawing you into what we're building here?
Man, yeah, that's a great question. I just got back from Montreal. Last week. I was also in Quebec City last week. And I went to university in Montreal. So I definitely there was a day where I was like hit with this like big pang of nostalgia. Like, oh, I miss it so much. It's a world-class city. But then after a while I was like, you know what? I think Calgary's still better. Like Calgary feels like a playground where you must feel this too. Like having built stuff here, it really feels like everyone wants to see you succeed and wants you to build. And I've been doing a lot of reading as well, but like some of the pioneers of Alberta more generally. My friend John Whitaker wrote this book on George Lane, and he was one of the big 4 for the Stampede. And there's just like constantly this feeling of like people who operate and do stuff in Alberta. It's like, yes, I'm building a company, but I'm also building a province. Yep. And to me, that's such a cool, it's ingrained in the culture of this city and this province of by operating and being here, you are contributing to the growth of this province. And so I think that's felt from everyone who just wants to help you succeed and wants to give back. And I think that's unique to us. And I also think there's some other factors that are unique to us. One is obviously quality of life and sunshine, and like I actually think our winters are probably the best winters in Canada. Basically, like the only one that comes close is probably Vancouver, but I think it's too gloomy in Vancouver.
So I was at an event this morning, talking to someone about this exact thing, and they're like, I had to move from Vancouver because it's too gloomy in the winter.
It's too gloomy.
I grew up in Kelowna.
Yeah.
And so in Kelowna, on October 1st, like the clouds come into the valley and they don't leave until March. And you can go to the ski hill and kind of go above it, but you don't see the sun for. And this is a gross overstatement, but it's not sunny in the winter there.
Yeah.
And
so like I think the sun here is awesome, and the Chinooks make it like, great long term. But then the other thing is like affordability. I think though obviously different factors and different people consider that differently, but I do think we've done a good enough job of building, and home prices have stayed affordable enough that I think more people are in a position where they can take risks at a younger age. And so I just like, for me, I have a lot of my friends who are similar ages to me, 28, who quit their job and are starting companies, and they can't because, they're in a position where they're not spending too much on their rent and are able to do that. Again, you just wouldn't be in that position if you're in Vancouver or in Toronto, right? Yeah. So I think they're just really both culturally, the maybe economically, and then the like tangential benefits of like it just being a really nice city to live in, I think all make this city incredible.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that you're spot on about everyone willing to lend a helping hand too.
Yeah.
Even when I was launching our business, excuse me, even when I was launching our business, like the people that put out their hand and said, hey, let me help you. Let me introduce you to this person. Oh my gosh, you have to meet someone over here. Yep. Go to this event. Like everyone is so generous with their time, with their connections, like, and it just creates this sense of community.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing the research into kind of OG Alberta.
Right. Yeah.
Because the oil patch and oil sands and kind of wasn't what it was today for all time.
Yeah.
There was this point when there was this group of renegades that were kind of, the crazy people that came out here and started building something, and they were going against the grain. Yeah. They were pioneers in a certain way, and they were taking weird risks. They were, I wouldn't, in some degrees, not even calculated risks.
Yeah.
They just said, I believe we can change X, Y, and Z, and let's go figure out how to do it.
Yeah. The first people, one of the other, it wasn't George Lane, but I think George Lane was part of the cattle drive. But someone just bought like a herd of like 3,000 cattle and drove it up from Montana. I was like, let's see if this works here. And you're right about not being calculated risks. The Fairmont here is called the Palliser. And you might already know this, but from this book that I read, the Palliser, he was actually an explorer, and he came out to Alberta. And he came out twice wrote that like the land was too arid. Nothing would survive here. No one should ever move here.
This is a desolate wasteland. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like nothing will ever come. And so it's actually like tongue in cheek that it's called the Palliser. Yeah. Because, like, we hated this guy, I guess.
He was the biggest antagonist ever for the cities.
For the cities, yeah. Exactly. He was like our collective, antagonist.
I think that it's super interesting. But that's a part of the DNA that I think is starting to come back, where whenever you take a leadership position, there people like just always start to play a little bit safe.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that you have an industry that started to play it safe.
Right.
That as it matured, and I think that's kind of how economics and everything works, just by nature of how the world works.
Yeah.
As you get shareholders, as you have more dollars involved, like your risk tolerance goes down. But all of a sudden, you have that DNA that's starting to pop back up that says like, hey, let's just figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think you have that tech energy that's starting to come in. And, one of the conversations that I love to have, and I think you're doing with Tech Thursday really elegantly as well, is how do you connect that energy from the kind of the youthful pioneering startup scene with the traditional technical mindsets of some of these more established digital operations IT teams.
Right. Within oil and gas companies.
Within any really established organizations, to kind of bring those two worlds together more. So you're starting to see, probably a happy medium that has elements of both things in it.
Yeah, totally. I also think a lot of those companies want to hire Calgary talent.
Yeah.
For whatever it might be. If it's like consulting gigs and stuff, and want to do it more. And so the more I think we can like build that like really world-class tech talent right here in Calgary, the more those larger companies will like hire them for roles and hire them for like projects, and hopefully like feed itself. But I think you're totally right. I think there's a lot more that could be done. And some of those like big oil and gas companies are super interesting. I had the opportunity to go up to Christina Lake and visit Cenovus' SAGD plant up there.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that's like a really cool, unique innovation. SAGD.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Like for those who don't know, it's like you basically like pump steam into the ground, and that allows gravity to pull down the oil. And so it's ideally a lot less sort of carbon intensive. Yeah. And also I was flying in thinking it would look like Mordor. And like just these open pit bitumen mines. And it really wasn't at all. Like it was kind of like just this beautiful land that's all going to get sort of put back once they're done drilling as well, of the land that of the small footprint that they are sort of, have built on. Yeah. So there are like really interesting developments. And when I was up there, they also were like, look, one of these wells, we would be willing to like trial things and partner with someone. And so there was actually a lot of interest from at least Cenovus of like, if you're like an entrepreneur and you have an idea for how we can like make more money off a well, we would let you try it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's amazing. I think that when we start to find those partnerships, that's when the magic starts to happen.
Totally. Yeah.
And even going back to your initial comment about the lab side of things and how do you start to kind of build some of those new and different businesses in town, creating some of those partnerships with industry right in their backyard is going to be a really important part of that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And being able to do that. And like I said, again, there's like all these companies who are operating here, I think they also feel a very strong like Alberta mindset. Yeah. And so the more that we're able to, as like a tech ecosystem, prove that we are serious people and we can build serious companies and there isn't a risk to your project if you go with like a Calgary-based founder or company. I think the more these companies will act as first customers, but also I think that the more we'll be able to win long term. So I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like.
I love it. So as you're taking your Tech Thursday story on the road, you mentioned Edmonton, you mentioned you're going out east further. I know there's a big Tech Thursday, I think, in Winnipeg as well.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What are you learning as you start to expand into different markets?
Yeah, I mean, every market is different. That's the one thing that we've learned. That's like the headline of what we learned. Every market is incredibly different is like the subtitle. It's been like super interesting, I think, to go in to these communities. I think, though, broadly across Canada, there's a lot of interest in building great companies in Canada, doubling down on like Canadian talent and Canadian companies. So that's certainly been really cool to see. But each city has their own added value. Like Ottawa has really strong IP talent and really strong quantum research, actually, interestingly. And so does Edmonton as well. Edmonton has a lot of really strong like AI companies too. And then obviously Winnipeg is like the home of Skip the Dishes. Yeah. But understanding the like how these ecosystems play together, who the like maybe network nodes are, and tapping into them has been like a really interesting and like both challenging but also exciting part of like expanding to new cities and trying to like hack growth.
I love it. And what's next on the horizon for you? So you talked a little bit about your ecosystem plan.
Yeah.
But if we think about things we can expect in the short term from the Tech Thursday team, what's next on the horizon?
What's next on the horizon? So we're actually really focused on the markets that we're in right now. We don't want to expand any further. What we want to do is become the undeniable convener in these markets. And so our kind of growth strategy going into the new year is just double down on the conversations that we're having, and make sure that they're like incredible speakers. Our audiences are possibly as big as they can be, and the connections that we're making are really, really strong. And then sort of what we want to do as well is start looking at, can we cross-sell into our digital audience as well? Can we build our YouTube presence, our Instagram presence? Can we also help other people build their own audiences through like what I talked about, a podcast network possibly? And then we can, place ads across all of our sort of media assets as well. So that's going to be a big area of focus too. And then maybe just to like tease some of the events that we have coming up.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, getting Suncor in. We're doing a fireside chat, I think on February 19th with John Hill. He's the CIO at Suncor. And so that should be a great conversation about like, he really wants to spend time talking about, domain-specific AI and what that looks like. But I assume also a lot of that conversation is going to be about how do we get more folks in the tech space solving problems in the oil and gas space. So that one should be fun. And then we got a cool like open banking one on January 22nd. A couple of folks are flying in from Toronto. Good friends of mine as well from Zero and Crestview to just talk about like some of the big changes in the federal budget. And now that it's passed, in terms of that, now living with the Bank of Canada and what that looks like. So those are two that are on the top of my head that I'll kind of tease right now.
I love it. And to put it for people that don't know what Tech Thursday is, if you were to give, we joked about at the very beginning, I haven't done like a sales pitch in a long time on the show, but in the spirit of Sell Me This podcast, like if someone wanted to attend one of the Tech Thursday events, like what would you tell them? Like, why would they want to come to one of the events?
Sell me this Tech Thursday.
Sell me this Tech Thursday. I feel like this is a great way to wrap up the episode.
Yeah, totally. To me, I think Tech Thursday is all about. I think in our DNA, we've always wanted our events to be. If you'll permit me to like use this
you're permitted
tech term for an event series, but I think we've always tried to think about our events in first principles of like, let's strip away everything else in events and understand why people are coming, and let's make sure they're coming for the right reasons. So like people will always suggest like, oh, you should do like raffle prizes, or you should like have free food even. And it like, I want to limit that stuff as much as possible. Because as soon as people are coming for those things, they stop coming for the reasons that you want them to come, which is the topic of conversation. And so to sell you this podcast, I would say like, if you see a topic that you're interested in, you should come because it's going to be the kind of best iteration of that conversation that at the very least you can have here in Calgary or here in whatever markets that you're in. And I think also like what we want to do is we want to take content that you could probably only get from like a podcast, a really niche podcast that's recorded in California, and have it with people in this ecosystem, with people that you can meet and like build relationships with, and hopefully like iterate on some of the problems that you're building. So that's kind of the sell you this podcast, and maybe the like additional ethos is to us, I think, when we looked at how San Francisco became a tech hub, a lot is given to like, obviously concentration, but also concentration of capital. And like Intel is often one of the first companies that are cited as like helping this. But I think also what's maybe less talked about is the close proximity of a lot of these executives from these semiconductor companies who would meet at pubs for pints and just have casual conversations about what they were building, what problems they were facing, and the innovation that spurred from there. So to us also, I think what we're trying to do with Tech Thursday is create this space for senior members of the tech ecosystem to like engage with new ideas, but also have casual conversations. And hopefully, over a beer, we can change the world maybe.
I love it. What an incredible way to wrap up.
Yeah.
Philip, if someone wanted to get a hold of you,
yes.
What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my phone number is 825. No.
That is brave. I've never had anyone start with the phone number.
Yes, call me. Connect with me on LinkedIn for sure. Yeah, I try and get back to everyone who reaches out on LinkedIn, or follow Tech Thursday on LinkedIn as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the chat today. This has been an absolute pleasure and a blast to have you on. And thank you for not giving out your whole phone number, because I feel like we would have had to bleep that out. I feel like we'll have you on again, and I love what you're doing with Tech Thursday. So thanks so much for coming.
Well, Keith, thanks so much for having me in this beautiful space. Thank you for making the stockings match my shirt. And this was a lot of fun. So I appreciate it. I was looking forward to selling more things. I thought you were just going to hand me stuff and I was going to have to sell them, you know?
Next time we're just going to have one episode. It'll be surprise. It'll be like, sell me this Christmas tree.
Yeah, it'll be mystery boxes that we have to sell. Yeah, I'm into it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
If you've made it this far, like and subscribe on YouTube, or follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting platform so you don't miss any future episodes.